Hey, what's up guys, I'm Mark Yoon, and today I'm bringing a hopefully exciting video. So what I want to talk to you about today is probably the main antagonist or the main villain of Soul Calibur VII. Now, based off the narration, this is pretty easy to predict and tell, but it's also a little bit hard to get around the juxtaposition of what came before and what people expect. So, at the end of Season 2, when we were setting up the swords and the shepherds, you know, kind of like the Akatsuki of the Soul Calibur universe, at the end of Season 2 for Soul Calibur 6, we were introduced, or reintroduced, I should say, to Ishka Acht, because Ishka Acht actually was a character that originally appeared in Soul Calibur Legends on the Wii, and they are returning kind of gender swapped as a girl this time, but they seem to be the leader of this team called the Swords and the Shepherds. Now, we did fight against her at the end of Season 2, but she was kind of a mimic character, whereas she didn't really have an in-game model for herself using. She was transforming into previous bosses of the Soul Calibur series, so she was transforming into like Nightmare and such, but we do see her talking to a disconjointed spirit in the sky who obviously is Algol, and a lot of people, that makes them believe that Algol is going to be the main villain of Soul Calibur 7. Now, one of the things that I've talked about before is I don't want them to jump the shark when it comes to reintroducing Algol into the series, and if they do, they have to do so carefully, because they almost wrote themselves into a corner when they introduced him in Soul Calibur 4, and I don't think that, like, that's the way to go if you want to make the narration that way. I mean, we do have really powerful characters now, especially with the transformations that we get from the Malfested transformations, especially when it comes to like Killik and Grow, and like now that like Curtis is probably under the same condition as a sleeper unit within the Swords and the Shepherds. But I think that we talked before about Ishka Acht being possessed or used as a vessel by Algol to come back into this realm, if he is in fact the Algol from the previous timeline and not an entirely different Algol from this timeline who just made somewhat similar choices, if we can tell based on the events from Soul Edge or Soul Blade, which are still in continuity in this timeline, at least everything that's been mentioned thus far in Soul Calibur 6. So there's like what we have is we have like Aswell, right? And Aswell came back and, well, Aswell was a new character introduced in Soul Calibur 6, but we had him searching for the Ultimate Seed. And what we came to find out that the Ultimate Seed was going to be somewhat of a false version of like Soul Edge, and that he was going to use this sword or this power to like take everything over pretty much. Now, where we saw the defeat, I guess, of Aswell. I'm trying to dance around like spoilers, but I guess it's kind of pointless this time. We saw the defeat of Aswell, and we saw it again even further in Libra of Souls, if you've played into the story of that, because Libra of Souls is a continuation of the main story, so you're actually not getting an entire view of all the story thus far unless you're reading the encyclopedia, playing Libra, which unlocks a lot of the encyclopedia, and completing all the Soul Chronicles as not just the story. So we see Aswell's defeat, we see a lot of lead up and build up to the next game, and this Ultimate Seed is still a background issue, and we also have to contend with the fact that the Swords and Shepherds, Ishka Acht and all them, they're actually out there trying to gather the broken, lost shards of Soul Edge, and this disconjointed voice is the one that's like telling them to do such. Now, being as that Ishka Acht could come back as a playable character, I don't know if she would be a full character or if she would have kind of a Necrid situation where she would be her own character model, but like utilize a lot of the moves mixed in with each other, the same way that, like I said, Necrid did. And we can have that kind of like a total character like that, and she could be the boss with that. I still think it's more likely that she is going to become the vessel for Algol and be possessed by Algol as a way to bring him into this realm. Now, I don't know if he's going to stay in that, but I've said countless times that I think Soul Calibur 7 is going to be an official lead up into Algol, because if you look at the end of Libra of Souls, it's kind of almost like a post-credit scene, if you want to compare it to something, where it's not like completely going to be absorbed by everybody, so the narrative is not going to be like everyone knows this going into the next game unless they do a short recap. So basically what I'm saying is, like, I don't think Aswell is going to be the main antagonist of this game. He may come back and he may actually be part of the background, even trying to dissuade the Swords and Shepherds, or, I mean, obviously we see the manipulation of Amy into Viola, and we've talked about Zwei being in the encyclopedia, and things are moving forward with Zwei being in the next game, and Zwei and Viola are being set up to be part of the Swords and Shepherds. So there's a lot going on when it comes to the narrative, and a lot that can lead towards an ultimate villain. Algol does have a possibility of showing up like he did in this game, but with a body. Whether that's a body created through science or created through magic, like a combination of like Aswell, we have no idea. Like, we've seen Soul Edge do some crazy things on its own before, kind of like semi-cloning Siegfried, because it was the perfect vessel for him, so that when Siegfried cast aside the sword, Nightmare became its own thing and literally was Siegfried underneath of there, a cloned version of him, albeit. So we've seen that, like, there's some kind of manipulation when it comes to the swords and how they can actually create life and possess things and things like of that nature. So if we're getting into the essence of getting all the shards back from Soul Edge, falling into the hands of Ishka Acht, who is then imprisoned or absorbed, or you know, take your pick, by Algol, then I think we have ourselves a main villain there. Possibility of like Inferno showing up again, and absorbing someone else or being like possessed by someone else. I do not think we're going to get a retread of anything from Soul Calibur 3 villain-wise. Like, I do not think that Zasalamel is going to be the main villain. Zasamel's already been shown to be working behind the scenes, so he always works to his own end, so it's always up in the air when it comes to that. But I'm pretty sure that he's going to be more on the good side of things. Not that there is really a super good side in Soul Calibur. It's kind of like the same edge of like the same coin when it comes to, you know, I guess the morality overall of like the characters in the series. Everyone kind of fights for their own purposes, and they usually come together just to defeat like one thing. So I think that it's a pretty good chance that we are going to see Ishka Acht and possibly Juan Gobak as like the main kind of antithesis to the heroes in Soul Calibur 7, with a splash of Algol, with Aswell working behind the scenes. We may even see some new characters pop up that are trying to manipulate things from behind the scenes, because everyone's trying to find these shards from Soul Edge. So definitively though, I won't say that it's going to be Algol. I think it's going to be Algol in some form or function. Now, will he be playable in the game? I'm not sure. Like, I think they're probably going to change his movesets up if they do reintroduce him. They've done that with every reintroduction of a character they've done thus far, such as like Setsuka, Hwang Sung-young especially. Like, there's been a lot of instances of them changing characters to fit like a better, newer playstyle for a newer generation from this reboot. So we'll see where it goes from there. Let me know your thoughts in the comment section down below. I want to know who you think is going to be the main antithesis or antagonist in Soul Calibur 7. Do you think it's going to be a combination of people, a new character entirely, or do you see the narration of Season 2 playing out as to the full narrative of Soul Calibur 7? Any and all thoughts are always welcome in the comment section down below. And as I always say, I love it, thank you,
and thank you.